Namaste. How you are doing? I have yet to receive the messages, but anyhow, we are starting the first step in this journey. So you have all the three sections of the book. You have to read it at least once a week so that your mind does not cause any sense of emotional bondage, emotional dependence, a sense of attachment. There is a syndrome that we are going to talk about it. Uh, that is emotional dependence plus suffering plus delusion. So that is all the three together creates a syndrome, and the mind moves in a cycle like a roller coaster. It goes up and it goes down. That causes lot of challenges in our life. So we are going to start the first step. The first step is to study, acquire, retain the knowledge of the real self, and also what is not real self, means what is the false self, to begin the journey of this self-discovery. The first step. Why? Why we should know what is real self and what is not real self. Complete knowledge. It is all about complete knowledge and complete ignorance. What does it mean? In total ignorance, we are in bliss. That is why it is known as ignorance is bliss. We have a famous American phrase, ignorance is bliss. Like in deep sleep, we are not aware of the world outside. We are not aware of the situation, condition, relationship, and lot of things that we know. We know nothing about the world in complete ignorance when we are in deep sleep. We are not aware of the body and the mind. So a sense of total blankness. In deep sleep, we say, I don't know. So that is a complete ignorance, and that is why the ignorance is known as the bliss. At the same time, we should also understand the complete knowledge is also bliss. How do you say that? Do you ever forget your name? Do you ever forget your name and the next day when you wake up, you call yourself, you understand yourself by a different name? No, it's a complete knowledge. Do you ever forget your house? No. Do you ever forget your car? No. Complete knowledge. So when we have a complete knowledge, that is also a state of calmness and the peace. We know it. So when we do not have a complete knowledge, now if I ask you, do you know who you are? So someday you get stressed, one person. The other day you are full of pleasure. Second day, third time, you are full of joy and happiness. Fourth day, you are full of stress and struggle. So out of the four individuals, who you are, that causes the confusion, and that is an incomplete knowledge. So whenever we have incomplete knowledge of anything, any person, including myself, that causes the challenges to our life. Are you getting it? So, whenever we have an incomplete knowledge, the mind creates many misconceptions, many wrong notions. And these misconceptions and the wrong notions are imposed on us, and then we start struggling in our life. So pay attention. That is why we want to know who we are really. We receive the knowledge, we retain the knowledge, and any time the incomplete knowledge takes over us, we remind in the head. And there are millions of misconceptions in our life. The misconception results into wrong notions. The wrong notions gives the wrong labels to our identity. Then we enter into identity crisis. Then what happens? You see that, he insulted his mom because I label myself as a mom. She insulted me. He appreciated me. So we have millions of misconceptions due to incomplete knowledge. We don't have a complete knowledge of who we are. So the first step is to know who we are in reality. By the name, I normally say that we are the real self. That is our true nature, of the nature of peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. No, but I get into stress. And you are saying that I'm of the nature of peace and happiness. That is why we need to understand. We have a misconception that we get into the stress and struggle and grief and anxiety and reaction and anger and hesitation. Why? Because we do not know real self completely. So we start running after the objects and the people and the relationship, and we create a misconceptions. And when we live with those misconceptions every day, every moment, we are ready to be attacked. When I don't know the real self, I'm ready to be attacked by the misconception in every situation, in every relationship. So, my friends, what happens with a complete knowledge of the real self? And what we say the real self is of the nature of peace and happiness. So our mind never invites any kind of misconceptions and the wrong notions. So what happens? We never get into stress, anxiety, duality, conflict, insecurity, fear. That is what we should be knowing. That is what we should be knowing clearly and completely. So are you clear? Pay attention. Complete knowledge, no problem. Complete ignorance, no problem. That happens in deep sleep, but we cannot live in deep sleep all the time. It is an unconscious life. It is so we have to live with a complete knowledge. Complete knowledge means that during the waking state, since I wake up in the morning until we sleep, we are living consciously. And what is the goal after knowing I have a complete knowledge of the real self? Joy of conscious living. That is what happens with a complete knowledge of who we are. Now, you can answer easily. I'm putting everything with a question and answer. So you remember the question and also remember the answer so that you can contemplate and reflect in line with what our teachers have been teaching. Why we should know the complete knowledge of the real self? Because we claim we are in stress, we are struggling, because we claim, we declare that we are into anxiety and reaction. Again, I'm repeating the question why we should know the complete knowledge of the real self. We find an emotional dependence that causes the problem. We find the anxiety, we find the duality, we find the conflict. So when I have a complete knowledge, I'm settled into that. They will dissolve completely. What do you mean? That is what I repeated. Do you know your name? Do you have a complete knowledge? Yes. Is there any problem? Is there any misconception? Do you know your gender, your home, your car? So what happens in the intellect? You have 100% conviction. And that is why you don't have a problem with your name, location of your house, your car, your relations, your gender. Do you see that? So when I remember, when I have a knowledge, complete knowledge of who am I, these problems will touch you now. That is what one of the masters says, that the ultimate goal of all the meditation, the entire journey of all the practices is that we are settled in the real self. Don't you say that, oh, I have reached home and now I'm settled. So, mind is settled in the real self. It has no other option to see any misconception, wrong notion. So, the life enjoys a complete security, a total satisfaction, and a complete happiness, a permanent happiness. This is what happens in deeper and a higher journey of meditation. One of the great masters who visited United States long back, I would say in 1897, who changed the mindset of a Rockefeller. But that is another story. So he says that as soon as the waves stopped in a lake and the lake become quiet, we see the ground below the lake in a transparent water. Mind is like a lake. When this mind is calm, when you withdraw the mind that is scattered in millions of directions outside, and you withdraw it inside, that is the meaning of the mind becomes calm. What happens? Then we see the real self, we witness the real self. We do not mix ourselves with the misconceptions and the wrong notions. We remain with what we are and who we are. We are the real self. Why the real self is of the nature of peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom? Because since the birth, unconsciously, habitually, we have been searching permanent peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. Step one, what is step one? To listen and learn what is that real self, to retain the knowledge, to reflect on this knowledge, to assimilate that knowledge, so that anytime, anywhere, we live with that real self. We think out of the real self. Speak. I'm reminding you again the first three sections of the book you have to keep reading. Why? So that your mind will easily pick up these steps. It is important. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. One definition by one master, or you can say one text, teaches that real self is the truth, knowledge, and infinity. It is infinite. So the step one challenges my mind. How it challenges? The master says I'm infinity, but I feel myself limited. You are sitting at your home and I'm sitting at my home. This is what the limitation is. This is only the step one. Master proves, helps us to experience that state of infinity of the real self. It is the truth. What do you mean by the truth? Truth is unchanging. Unchanging? Yes. It is all pervading, and also you say that it is unchanging. Recently, I met my classmate, almost, I would say, 38 to 30 or 39 years ago. He searched me on the Google. In those days, I had all the black hairs, long beard, but all the beard was black. I was little obese at that time. My friend was very thin. And then we decided to be virtual online. He is in California, and we never met in these 39 years. So when I saw him, he was just double of the size, suffering from diabetes and obesity. Now tell me, did I recognize him because of his body, or that I in me, I in him? That is what the real self is. Body has changed, mind has changed. I became bald, I had a gray hair. So he still have very big hairs on his head, but he was clean shaved. He colored his hairs. I did not recognize him based on the body. I recognized him something deeper inside. That I did not change since we met first, 39 years ago and now. Do you see, you are the same I when you were 5 years old, 10 years old, 20 years old, and now we are searching that I in us. We don't identify I with the body, the breath, the mind, the intellect, with relations of mother. You, that I still is the same. Outside you are a mother, that I is still the same. You're a husband to someone, you're a wife to someone, you're a boss to someone, you are by profession, you can give any name, but that I never changed. Don't you see that it is all pervading? It was present throughout the years, weeks, months, and that is the nature of the real self. That is what we are searching in our journey of the Eastern wisdom. So, one master says that this real self is not a part of the thought. Just for a few seconds, Do not think. If you stop thinking, you still exist. You are still present as the nature of the consciousness. So that real self is not the part of a thought. It is not the property of a thought. It is not a product of thought. You know, one great philosopher in the French, and the French says, I think, therefore I am. Now reverse this statement, do not think, you still exist. So I exist, therefore I can think, I can speak, and I can act. So that existence is me. That is the journey we are undertaking. And the first step is to know, at least you get some information and then reflect on it. Oh, this is the nature of the real self. So that at least now we have a false self, we have a real self, and we can separate, we can discern in our day to day life. You're in anxiety, false self. You are reacting, false self. You are calm and peace and happiness. You are your real self. But I say you are in peace independent of anything outside. Your real self. So until today, we have been knowing all about false self as a real one. That is why the first step is important and necessary. So the first thing, that real self is not the part of the thought. It is not the property of the thought. It is not the product of a thought. Real self is different from a thought. It is not limited by a thought. And that real self is present in every thought, in every speech, in every action, in every relation. What it means, you have to remember this. That real self is present in every relationship, but it is not a relationship. It is present in a thought, but not a thought. It is present in the body, but not a body. No, 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 I did not understand. Wave is present, water is present in the wave, but it is not a wave. Did you understand that? The space is present in the house, but it is not a house. That real self is present in the body, but it is not the body. But how do you say the space is present in the body, in the house, but it is not a house? Okay, I'll come to your house tomorrow and I'll take the space out of it. You keep your house with you. Is it possible? Without the space, house cannot exist. But we pay more attention to the walls and the roof and the ceiling and the floor. Do you see that? My house is destroyed, but still the space remains. Don't you see that it is the space is all pervading? Same way the real self is all pervading. This is what happens, my friend. We are into the section 4 of the book, and the first step out of the 40 step is to understand what is real self, and so that we can separate in our head cognitive ability. Just you sit down on a couch and contemplate and reflect so that you can separate what is the real self and what is the false self. Is the first step only. It is the beginning of a real journey. And all the first 3 sections of the book are the foundations We should know something more in our mind so that we prepare ourselves to become the highest level of a seeker. Now, just ask yourself, master answers that with the question. What is the question? That what happens if I have attained the real self? I've realized. Means there is a complete self knowledge. I told you, you have a complete knowledge, you always live in peace and happiness. Love, truth, and wisdom. You remain tranquil. You are self poised. You're the master of the senses. You're able to separate yourself all the time, 24 by 7. What is the stone in the gourd? Means what? What is the false self and the real self? Then this mind never runs after the stress, struggle, suffering, anxiety, duality, and a reaction. Why? Because you are in a complete knowledge. So here the master says that knowledge does not change. The false always changes. We normally say that if you speak lie, you have to speak 100 lies to protect one lie. Knowledge is independent. You need not to protect. Once you are settled in the knowledge of the real self, you are settled. Why? The knowledge does not change. What is that knowledge? That knowledge is peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. The false always changes. The false causes the confusion. The false results into ignorance. Ignorance results into suffering. And that is what we have been doing with the mantra Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu. You see, every verse, every teaching points our mind to that real self. Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu. So simply chanting the mantra will not bring the result. I have to go deeper into the meaning and then reflect on it. So what it means, let there be a, just say happiness for all. So now many people who are not a seeker, they build their ego. No, I'm seeking happiness for all. So when I seek happiness for all, it is not possible to remember all the 8 billion people. So the message is different. So a seeker wants to explore and extract the knowledge. What is the message? Let there be happiness for all. Happiness is our essential nature. So the master says that happiness is the essential nature of all the living species. You have many pets at your home. They cannot speak. They cannot think. It is only that ability only lies with the human race. And because of that ability, that expression of the language, we can think, we can receive the knowledge. That is what we are doing. But go back to your pets. Every pet unconsciously is moving towards peace and happiness, including our flies, the alligator, the lion, the bear, the insects, even the snake and the COVID virus. They all, the moment we have a life, we have a consciousness. And that consciousness triggers every living organism to a journey of happiness. What that proves? Happiness is the essential nature of all the living species, including me and you. No, no, but why I'm praying and are seeking happiness for all? I'm recognizing that happiness in all the beings, including my kids, my honey, my relations, my employees, that everyone is seeking that happiness. What a beauty of learning the Eastern wisdom. But why it is what a beauty? Because you are a seeker, you are also seeking happiness, following the path of the Eastern wisdom. But those who do not know it, so they are seeking happiness by getting into anger and anxiety, reaction, fighting, suffering, and grief. It is their way. Is that way is right? No. Why it is not? It is in ignorance. What we are doing, we are removing our ignorance on this path. Are you clear? So it means I'm mindful that I'm seeking happiness the moment I wake up, in all the relations, in all the situations, in all the conditions, in all my actions. So that very remembering, that very being aware saves you from great fears, a sense of insecurity, a sense of dissatisfaction. Are you getting it? Think of it. If you are not getting it, you can revert. So that is why our masters says that listening and learning continuously, repeatedly, over a length of time until with a commitment. So if I added the commitment that you, whatever you are listening, you contemplate and reflect every day, and you check that how much changes that has taken place. So listening and learning, plus the reflection and contemplation in your head, plus the practice, what happens? It starts weakening the first disease. What is the first disease? Emotional dependence. Emotional dependence, psychological dependence, or you can say the intellectual paralysis. So you are weakening. Listening and learning, contemplation, reflection are the strong pills that minimizes the impact, that weaken this disease. So what happens? You have a sense of clarity. That confusion is gone. Where is that confusion? My son is causing me the stress. So that confusion is gone, replaced by knowledge that there is no one outside which is responsible for my stress, struggle, or peace and happiness. A sense of detachment dawns. So, what happens when we continue the journey? A sense of dispassion comes, an emotional freedom. You start experiencing, you wake up in the morning and you feel the sense of a freedom from the world outside, and still you are engaged in the world. You think, speak, and act out of the peace and freedom. A sense of dispassion comes. Because of that dispassion, it results into steadiness of the mind. These are the changes. What do you mean by steadiness of the mind? Your mind is now not distracted, not wandering, not falling into unconsciousness. You continue to live into that awareness where distraction has no role to play. You need not to control your mind. Why? It only picks up the thought which is required, which is desired in daily life. This is what happens. So when these changes are taking place, it means yes, I'm not only treating the path, but I'm understanding, I'm applying these principles. And when we have that natural state of the steadiness, then the journey is very will come to an end. It's very near. I have approached very close to my real self. So, can I not reach to the real self while keeping my attachment intact? No. Because every attachment triggers a sense of insecurity, reaction, anxiety, duality, and a conflict. It may be hidden inside you, it will reflect sooner or later. We don't want we don't want those impressions continues to trigger inside my head all the time. Why? It hides the real self. No, no, I did not understand. Really? Say yes to me, I'll make you understand. Someone sends you a gift. You see the gift, the outermost layer is the wrapping, your name. Second layer is the big box. You see. Third layer is the pouch. Inside that pouch, the gift is there. What is most important? When you say the gift, are the three layers important? Wrapping, big box, and the pouch? No, they are not important. They are very important for boxing. You unbox. The value lies deep inside at the center. No, no, no. But what is the wrapping? How do you compare it? The first wrapping is attachment. You'd want to continue to live with that attachment. You want to live with an emotional dependence. You don't want to remove it, and still you want to find out the gift. God has gifted us the real self of the nature of the God. Are you understanding? So that is the first layer. So the first layer, we say that it is full of impurities contained in the mind, which starts from the emotional dependence, psychological, or you can say attachment. When I am attached, I'm always attacked, my friend. Whenever you feel you are attacked, it is because of the attachment. What we are learning, the first step, we are learning how to what is the real self and what is not the real self. And then you wanted me to explain that can I live with attachment simultaneously? I can find the real self. Answer is big no, unless you unwrap, unbox the first layer. So it is not only the attachment, it has to do with binding desires and agitation and repeat desire, living a mechanical life, and getting hurt with every day. They all come unwrapped. You have to unwrap this. Now, when you unwrap the outermost layer, you don't care. Second layer is the box. So that box is compared to a wandering mind. Wandering mind picks up any thought, gets agitated. Wandering mind picks up one thought, gets agitated, picks up the second thought, derives the pleasure, again distracted, wandering, agitated, pleasure, and this is the way we live. We have been living over years. We have been living every day, days after days, weeks after weeks, months after months, years after years, and expecting a different result. So, what we are saying, that I will remain distracted. What pleases me, I will do it, even if it is right, even if it is not right. That will not work. It means you don't want to open the box, and still you want to know the gift. So when we open that box, means we remove that box, means that we remove those distractions, means that we remove the wrong notion that wandering and the distracted mind will should continue and I will discover peace. Not possible. So you have unopened, you have unboxed the second layer. What is the third layer? If you claim that pouch is the gift, I will not open it. Some people, find that, oh, this pouch is a gift. That pouch is the layer of ignorance. So what we are doing, that we are removing that ignorance. That is the first step. We want to know what is real self. We will not stay satisfied. What glitters? Pouch may be very golden, glittering. All that glitters is not gold. I have to remove that pouch. And that pouch is of ignorance. When we remove all the three layers, we find that real self is present here and now. Then only we recognize it is all pervading. First time we realize that constant pleasure seeking in the world will never help me to reach or to find a permanent peace and happiness. Another way to understand it, there are only two types of the knowledge. One type of the knowledge pertaining to the entire world outside, the world of relation, situation, condition, body, mind, breath, intellect, ego. Other type of the knowledge is only to know my real self, to know my real nature, to know who am I. What is the other type of the knowledge I just explained? That is, I am not. Am I the body? The false self says yes. Real self realizes I am not the body because I possess the body, the way I possess the car, the way I own the home. So body is I am not, breath is I am not, intellect is I am not, car is I am not, house is I am not. Can you put a label I am on the car, I am on the house? Same way I cannot put my label on that I am the body, I am the breath, I am the mind, I am the intellect, I am the ego. Not at all possible. not remotely possible, and still my mind, due to the ignorance, misconception, places an identity that I am the body. And once you put that identification, false notion that I am the body, the journey to the attachment, suffering, and delusion syndrome begins, it never comes to an end. Our journey, the first step one, to listen and learn, to receive and retain and reflect and realize the knowledge what is real self and what is not real self. My intellect inside should be able to separate, to see it separate. It is a cognitive ability, it is a matter of awareness. It is difficult. Is it really difficult to see that the cup that you are holding in your hand is separate from you? No, it's not difficult. But why it is difficult? It is difficult because of the emotional dependence on the body, breath, mind, intellect, ego, relation, situation, conditions. In the beginning, maybe until now, we have been living with the false self, claiming it is the real self. So now we have understood what is real self, so it becomes easy to separate. We have two I, one is the false I, other is the real I. What we should do during the day. The moment mind starts living with a false I inside your head, shift it to the real I. Where is going to happen? Anxiety will drop there and then. The struggle, the grief, and the reaction will drop and dissolve there and then. You will at least weaken the force. What is that force? The force is carried out by the ignorant mind. I told you, complete knowledge is complete ignorance. So I'm using the word ignorant mind. Ignorant mind is impulsive, it is habitual, it is instinctive, that dictates the intellect to follow the pleasure seeking endeavor in the world outside. But pleasure is short lived. Pleasure means that when I come in contact with a particular situation, event, person, people, relationship, I experience the pleasure as if that pleasure contains in that event or that person or that object. This is what the emotional dependence is. It prevents the knowledge of the reality. That is why we are learning. That is why complete knowledge, bliss. Complete ignorance, bliss. Complete ignorance, we cannot live. 24 by 7 in complete ignorance. Hence the journey. We should know. We should reflect. We should do the practice to change our stance from the false I to the real I. That is the simple journey. I told you by an example. Someone sends you a gift. The existence has sent us a gift of the real self. And that real self is exactly like God. It's a replica of the God. God is always happy, yes. God always in love, yes. So the real self is always in is always in peace and happiness. That is what my master you see in the background has taught us. Someone sends you a gift. You remain in pleasure for a few days. Then you put that gift somewhere. After a few weeks and the months, you forget about that gift. Living our life unconsciously in emotional dependence, we have forgotten the gift gifted to us by the existence. Eastern wisdom is a journey to uncover layer by layer until we reach and find that valuable gift, unmatched gift. Why? Moment we realize the real self, it is irreversible process. Then the suffering becomes the past. Then the love, you're not searching love outside. Why? Because you are already full of love. You are the source of the joy. That real self is the source of the joy. That's why we go and pray to the God. We say the God is full of compassion. That real self is a replica of the of the God. So that gift is hidden behind these three wrappings of the impurities in the mind. A syndrome effect is there, which prevents us to go deeper inside. Second layer is the distractions. There are a lot of thoughts. One thought seeks pleasure, you get a pain in that, and then you run after the second. It's a kind of constant struggle. And third layer is of ignorance. That gift is already within all of us. All of us. Without any doubt. We forget to open it. We forget to uncover it. We have no right to die before we discover. By uncovering all the three layers, we do not open it because we think peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom is outside in the world. You cannot find it outside in the world. So now see the message is so clear by our masters. We have the diamond inside, we are searching it outside. We have a desire to know the real self or to attain the real self, which is already present inside. We have a desire to earn wealth, to buy a car. That is outside. It demands an effort. But which is already inside me, it is already gifted. What is required? The right knowledge. You have to remove the ignorance by understanding. Are you getting it? Are you getting it? That real self is present here and now, and we miss it. So that is why these 40 steps are here, written by one great master who lived in the 8th century or 7th century, you can see at the end of the century. So it is present here and now, and still I miss it. It is because of the ignorance. And that is why we should be very clear what is real self, what is false self, what is false I, what is real I. So that every time we recognize that we are working with the false I, we simply shift internally to the real I. Instantly, the life changes. The step one until we complete the step 40. How do you say it is present here and now? Last point in our today's lesson. You go to the beach, there is a strong wind, and you see the waves. You are enjoyed and absorbed into the waves. You forget the water. But there is no wave without the water. We forget the water. We start talking about the waves. Water is in front of us. Still, we recognize as a wave. Oh, look at this beautiful house I'm living. We forget the space. Ultimate cause of any house, any building is the space. If the space is not there, house does not simply exist. We talk of the moonlight. Moon does not have a light. Fundamentally, it is sunlight. And we forget sun and we say it's a moonlight. Come on. We forget we are the real self. We always remember we are the body, mind, intellect, ego, false I. We remember our relations outside. We forget we are the real self first. After that, the relations comes. But if the relation comes first, then emotional dependence comes first, then attachment comes first, then the suffering comes first. These are the wrappings. Our real self is hidden inside. Hmm. So that real self is never changing, all pervading, infinite, of the nature of knowledge, peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. From today, when you wake up in the morning, your mind should remain curious to search what is all pervading, infinite truth, peace, happiness, love, and wisdom. But how to find it? You filter out what is changing. Your body is constantly changing. What you are today, what mental state you have today, it will not remain as it is tomorrow. It was not in the past. Oh, the mind is changing, body is changing, breath is. So you just become aware that whatever is changing is not me. You maintain that awareness. Why? You recognize this is the false side and you negate internally that will leave the mind in a vacuum, totally in a mindfulness state. You can be in a mindfulness state 24 by 7. That is the beauty of this journey. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you.